Let's get more now from Emma Gordon, who's an East Africa specialist based in London. Emma, just how much of a surprise was this ruling?
Hi. The result, quite frankly, was quite striking. It was very stunning. It's the first time in African history where the Supreme Court has overturned a presidential election. The closest we came prior to this was in Ghana from the last presidential elections there. Up until now, Odinga has presented a number of pieces of evidence of the hacking, the alleged hacking. But it wasn't entirely clear how credible those were, given the number that he produced, etc. So many people were, I think, expecting the Supreme Court to rule that there were irregularities, but perhaps not enough to overturn the election completely.
Now, the major concern, of course, is that this ruling is going to be met by violence. Is that likely?
The ruling has certainly raised the risk of violence. The stakes are now a little bit higher. Supporters on both sides will galvanise around their candidate. And so you are likely to see clashes between those two groups of supporters, particularly in urban areas like Nairobi and areas in kind of the west of the country and the coastal regions. But I think the big question for many people is whether this is going to descend to the level of violence seen in 2007 and 8. And I think there aren't indications of that at this stage. As you pointed out, Kenyatta has accepted the ruling. His supporters did not take to the street to protest, which is a very positive sign. And so I think from now, really the level of violence is going to be influenced by how the process is handled, particularly the decision over who runs the election and the various other obstacles before we actually reach that finish line.
Now, in the meantime, in the last few hours, we've heard from the chair of the Electoral Commission who says he's not going to stand down. Is that not going to add to the tensions?
It certainly is, and I think this is going to be the biggest battle, or the first battle, of this new campaign. We heard Odinga, the leading opposition candidate, we heard him call, in fact, for criminal prosecutions against the IEBC chair. He said that the IEBC was not fit to hold this new election. And he, in fact, I think at one point called maybe for the UN or some other international body to help run it. So I think now we're going to see a huge debate within the country over which organisation is fit to hold this. And that might actually involve kind of further judicial intervention. A key point of the Supreme Court ruling was that it was against the IEBC specifically. It stated that there were irregularities and illegalities carried out by that body. And so there are real questions over whether they have the constitutional mandate to hold this new poll.
Emma Gordon, thank you so much for that.